Right now, thousands of protesters marching in Myanmar, but after 9 days of public outrage over the coup nearly 2 weeks ago, military leaders are losing patience. They've issued arrest warrants for 7 high-profile protest supporters, accusing them of disturbing public order. The United Nations says it is concerned by military's arbitrary detentions, arrests and violence. Ivan Watson is tracking all of this for us from Hong Kong. I mean, have the Burmese people heard directly from those who carried out the coup, from the military?
Sure. The military has kept the military-owned TV stations on air while restricting broadcasts of privately owned independent television networks that do news, and has been putting out statements. Interestingly, the military has continued to put out statements on the military's Facebook pages, even though the same military dictatorship has effectively banned Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's still using this as a mode of communication with the outside world. So there's a bit of a contradiction there. There was a shutdown of the internet across the country last weekend, but after a 2-day period, it was turned back on. So you really do have competing narratives taking place. The military, which has the monopoly largely on weapons and the levers of government, and then this street movement that has been unfolding in cities and towns across the country and has been protesting for 9 straight days since the military coup on February 1st. Michael?
And I guess, you know, the international condemnation of the military for what's happened, it's been widespread, it's been daily, but ultimately, does it mean anything? Will it make any difference?
Well, you know, that is this discussion here, because you do have some foreign companies like Japan's Kirin Brewery that have announced they're going to end joint ventures with companies in Myanmar that have strong ties to the military. You have the U.S. President, Joe Biden, announcing that he's going to stop the military government's ability to tap some $1 billion in assets in the U.S., But in the same breath, everybody knows that prior to the opening up that Myanmar has seen over the last 10 years, that it was largely ruled by a military dictatorship for nearly half a century. And for most of that period, that dictatorship was internationally isolated, and it continued to survive while the rest of the country and the populace was kind of kept in the dark from the outside world and limited from opportunities to grow economically. So real questions about whether the military wants to go into another period of international isolation like that, and what impact that could have on the broader population.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I mean, is there any word on the status of Aung San Suu Kyi? I mean, the level, you know, she lost some international support. She still has huge internal support on the streets. But do we know, you know, where she is, how she is, any communication?
No, she's not being able to broadcast to her supporters, who many of them are out on the streets, you know, waving portraits of her. And meanwhile, we're hearing more and more arrests of top officials in her National League for Democracy. Largely, these arrests seem to be taking place at night, and raids of the offices of that political party as well. And an interesting kind of rhythm that's developing, where you have kind of street protests during the day, and at night the demonstrators get off the streets, and then at night, around 8 o'clock at night, eyewitnesses in Yangon say, that's the commercial capital, that everybody engages in banging of pots and pans. But again, it's a test of wills between these two sides, and the military has largely, with the exception of the armed rebel groups in the ethnic kind of border areas, the monopoly on the use of force.
Yeah.
Michael.
Great analysis. Good to have you on the story. Ivan, thanks. Ivan Watson there in Hong Kong.